Hello everybody, my name is Anthem. Welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4, The New Order as America. Let us continue on from where we last left off. So, we are doing everything in our power. Everything. To get rid of the dictator in the Dominican Republic. And I think overall it's going okay. Supplies 100 out of 100. Invasion minimum supply is looking good. And operational strength right now is 26. I would like to get that higher if possible. Trained armed forces. Our minimum supply will decrease by 5. This column will have a higher experience. Yeah, that sounds good to me. We'll get that one going. Next up. What are you? You know, show everything at the moment. Supply will decrease by 10. Air support, trained forces. You know what? We'll give them air support. We'll give them everything they could possibly want. Why not? The Traveling Lady. How do you move one of the most famous paintings in the world from its regular home, across an ocean, and on display without damaging it or risking the threat of robbery? Simple. Pack it in a specially designed bulletproof casing that will also protect it from temperature, humidity, and UV rays. And make it waterproof and floatable, just be on the safe side. Then transport it under armed guard with motorcades, block traffic, and more to deliver it to the ship. They'll take it on the trip across the Atlantic. Then, when it does arrive in New York, load it up in an armored van and take it to the National Gallery of Art in Washington. Then when it is finally displayed, station 2 Marines, each with loaded rifles, on either side to ensure nobody gets near it. The more interesting question, however, is why would you send one of the most famous paintings in the world to the United States? When the French heard that the government was considering loaning the Mona Lisa to the United States for a couple of months, there were protests and riots. The painting had been in the Louvre for so long, through war and catastrophe, an enduring symbol of French cultural history, even if it was taken from the Italians hundreds of years ago. And now it has been given to the Americans? What a travesty this is. To hell with diplomacy. This is an outrage that can never be lived down. But for the 500,000 Americans, including the President, every member of the House of Representatives and the Senate, the Justice of the Supreme Court, and many, many more average people, the image of the lady has captivated them. With her emanatic smile, expertly captured by Leonardo da Vinci, the Mona Lisa has captured a nation and a people for so long it was considered uncultured. Within weeks, museums and art galleries around the United States reported an uptick in visits to see what they had on display. Yet if nothing could match the graceful lady that will soon return back home. You know what? Fuck the French. I think we should keep it. Who's with me? I want to vote. Air supremacy. What do we want to take? We'll get our helicopters up a little bit stronger. Don't care about lost production units. And what do we have in here? Is this just all the stuff for... yeah, just preparing things here. I mean, I can't really do anything. Supply will increase by 10, which I think is bad, because we need to be at 100 of 100 on this. And I don't know exactly which day the invasion of Dominican will happen. The Madagascar lobby. Harry Roto has sat quietly in a luxurious basserie in the heart of Washington, D.C. His contact was late again, but this didn't bother Roto. Now given time to enjoy his foie gras. 30 years ago, as a young lawyer in an impoverished colonial nation of northern Madagascar, scraping together enough francs to pay for a suit, he never would have imagined living in the heart of a world power, wined and dined by spies and diplomats. From trying to break into politics in the colonial capital of Naval, to his role in the foundation of the party of the disheartened of Madagascar, who call for liberté, égalité, and fraternité, not just for the marine elite, but all Malagasy. Then the unconceived uprising blew cracked in 1946. The PAD-ESM were then scattered to the wind. To the wind. Rakosa's current lodgings would have seemed unfathomable to him and his comrades only 15 years ago, forced to cram into a dilapidated hotel room in Johannesburg, struggling to pay for food and awaiting news for their new CIA patrons. It was there that they would have their last heated communication with their rivals in TEFAMA. Radicals and marine chauvinists who thought that throwing out the civilization the French had brought was somehow equivalent to liberation. The two parties went different ways, and PAD-ESM seeking refuge in the last gasp of French independence in West Africa, now led by Philibert Trisana, while their opponents sold their souls to the devils in Tokyo. 10 years they spent in Abidjan, debating the tribes of future politics, while Madagascar rotted. Then everything changed a year ago when he was chosen by Tirsana to assist the OFN in planning the liberation of the newly strategically important island. Roto wasn't even sure he wanted this. He knew almost nobody back on the island, no matter what he told the analyst, and frankly, he liked life in the free. Being free of worry and free of want. So when the CIA agent took his seat with a large manila folder and news of imminent French collapse in Madagascar, his heart sank. It seems like he may be returning home, but for Roto, there will be no caviar or air conditioning in a Tenerife. Well, I mean, I would love to collapse the Madagascar government. Get ourselves a friendly ally in the region. Mobilize resources. We don't want to do this quite yet. We can't get any more supplies. Because Madagascar is currently controlled by France. Quote-unquote by the French. Not really. But we'll see kind of how we can go there. Yeah, operational strength sounds good. We have so many. We have infinite rifles. We have basically infinite political power as well. So I'm willing to give them anything they want. We're gonna take over in the Levant. Okay, so it looks like the yeah, so we have now a massive Israel in the Middle East. What do we need? You're just telling me about the extra divisions, which I don't want. So I'm actually gonna turn those off, or at least turn off the notifications for now. Okay, foreign policy. Don't worry about you. Don't worry about you. Don't worry about you. Because again, that card's minimum supply to increase by 15, and I'm assuming that can go above how much supply we actually have, which would be bad. Everything else though here is fine. The star of the silver screen. I am absolutely over the moon. I have often said a girl must marry for love and keep marrying until she finds it. I believe I have in my dear Delepeps. Zaza Gabor, an extravagant actress and socialite, crooned as she displayed her shining engagement ring and wedding rings to the attentive cameras and studio audience. The show host, a broad smile on his face, pretended to be interested. He had seen several wedding rings from Zaza over the years, and show business had made him cynical enough to doubt this relationship's longevity. And this lucky fellow, DeLips Morrison. Tell us more about him, he said. The studio audience chuckling at the little odd name that Zaza's bow. Oh, he's just perfect, Gabor said, her bright smile illuminating television screens nationwide. He's my ideal man. He has brains and he gives me my space. But he's still tough and decisive. You don't become governor through just being a pretty face. Though he's out of office at the moment, I know he knows I should be free like a bird in the sky, not kept in some golden cage to be paraded about. Well, gosh, Zaza, it sounds like a marriage is an excellent fit for you, the host replied, his emphasis on this drawing chuckles from the audience. They're familiar with Zaza's patterns, and maybe this DeLips Morrison would be the first to break it. But none of them would put any money on it. Now, it certainly is the most wonderful thing, Zaza said, her eyes glinting with mirth. And you know why? If things go wrong, perhaps I can add a governor's mansion to my collection. I am an excellent housekeeper, after all. Laughter filled the studio as the audience recalled Zaza's string of favorable divorces, as well as imagining the actress pushing the former governor around. Where do you think he's the governor of? What state? I'm gonna say Jordan signed a peace accord with Israel. I'm gonna say that he's gonna be the governor of where's Oklahoma? There it is. That's my guess, based on no information whatsoever. So national focus. So we focus on the Philippines a little bit. Let's go with the fighting Filipinos. Presidential veto calls into question. The protesters marched in circles around the White House, holding high placards and signs disparaging the president's recent decision to veto the Civil Rights Act. A couple even made the point of wearing Klan hoods festooned with Nixon's campaign buttons. Invariably, they were all students, but beatniks and jobless bums with nothing better to do in their life, hollering and making noise in a desperate bid for attention. Richard Nixon watched them as they popped in and out of view between the trees and the hedges in the southern lawn. Couldn't those dumb kids see that they were the reason he did it? He refused to cave into a bunch of doped-up so-called progressives, demanding he do too much so quickly. And for that, they said he was Hitler. Literally, as it turned out, he caught a glimpse of a placard where his face had been cut out from a campaign poster and plastered on an image of the saluting Fuhrer. He rolled his eyes and closed the curtains. He hoped that they had learned their lesson and simmered down, but that would probably be asking too much of them. Instead, they spent a little brain power they had on deifying Jack Kennedy, and of all people, and calling him to join the NPP as their candidate in '64. Not everyone is blessed with intelligence. Goddamn kids, get off my lawn. Okay, do we have anything in here we can do? Not really at the moment. Actually, what does this say? Failure. I mean, durable, waning. It's fine. Subject, conflict in the Philippines. Update. While the situation in the islands has stabilized after the 1961 ceasefire concluded in a joint anti-Loyalist offensive, see Memorandum 1959 Philippine War, succeeding developments may force another, more decisive confrontation in the near future. The power struggles within the fractious Communist Party of the Philippines, the PKP, culminated in General Secretary Jose Lava's ouster by Luis Turac, commander of the party's armed wings. Following a retreat from central Luzon to the Cordilleras base area, reports from surrounding villages suggest that the hardliner is marshaling resources to rebuild his depleted forces ahead of a second offensive. Similar efforts are being undertaken by Philippine departments further south, aided by overt and covert shipments received in Davao City following its liberation. Having likewise regrouped their forces before the ceasefire, Carlos Garcia y Político has since reinforced the FPR's hold over the region while his forces recover. Optimism for the island's total liberation remains unabated by recent setbacks. In contrast, agents in Manila described the prevailing mood as fatalistic. Government's reassurances bell a record number of both arrests for seditious behavior and luxury liners leaving port. After years of repression, faith in Yolo's regime has plummeted to an extent where the lastingness is being openly questioned. The archipelago teeters closer to one final war. And that is a war I will be in. I will be there. Day one. Okay, Ramphis Trujillo has fled Paraguay. That's fine. What's going on Paraguay? Wait, what the hell is Santa Cruz? What are you guys doing here? I've got no idea, but they're a puppet right now at Paraguay. Well, whatever Paraguay wants to do, I'm not going to say it's not my business. They are in the Americas, so by extent, it is my, by extension, is my duty. Oh, okay, we have stuff with the Philippines now as well. Excellent. So what do we have? 30,000 Americans who have made their last stay in Batana and Corridor. Only half will return statewide by the war's end. Organization reinforcement rate. Okay, this is for the other stuff. I mean, I have points for all of this, right? Actually, no, I only have 10 command power. Give them more rifles. This will give them... Ship the Little Olive Men. Give them an extra division. Well, let's ship over Little Olive Men. Sounds like, I guess, a good place to start. I mean, it's a little, strange, but that's okay. Also, what are we doing for our... Somebody was saying in the comments that we want to make sure that we're not just only bolstering... What's his name, Peter? We don't want to only be bolstering Lot. Currently, it is contested. We kind of want to do a little bit of both when possible. Vice President, Operation North Zone. So, you know what? We'll do one for the North Zone as well. United Disunity. It is unquestionable that the Indonesian populace is at no love lost with the current government under Sukarno. His heavy-handed policies exploiting the rural provinces at their expense, while favoritism has led to growing divisions among most branches of the government. Or to the fact that many see the government as a mere puppet of Tokyo, its creeping influence felt in both the industrial sector and within the armed forces. Yet, even despite this unifying cause for revolt, no leader among the rebelling factions has proven capable of truly bringing together a full force of Sukarno's opponents. Each group differs too greatly in their objectives and aims, which leaves the prospect of popular elite-driven coalition against the regime a remote possibility, for the time being. We will continue to monitor the situation until new developments arise. And what are you? You are no template for early heavy tank, improved armor cars, or basic super heavy tanks. We can probably find something to do with those. Let's duplicate you. Let's just throw some super heavy tanks into this, just so we can, say we have them. Not heavy tanks. Super heavy tanks, please. So let's build one of you. Sure, why not? I don't know how many super heavy tanks we actually have. Let's go 3, 5. I don't think there's a limit. I think this maybe costs you more money the more troops you have, but we're America, baby. We can afford it. So the super heavy tanks, and then I don't remember what the other ones were because I accidentally disabled the notification, but it's fine. I think one was like armored cars. We can maybe put those in like support divisions if need be, but probably like not super necessary. We can get the Labor Democrats to hate the coalition more. I think that does seem beneficial to moi. And right now it's like basically like a perfect 25-25-25-25 split, which is good for us, I would say. Toolbox theory. Starving the Beast. The magnum opus of Professor George F. Kennan, James Burnham, and former Secretary of State Dean Acheson has landed with a splash within circles of foreign policy. The product of years of correspondence, debates, and discussion, it is at once a scathing rebuke of isolationism, a defense of intervention, and a blueprint for American foreign policy. Particularly Kennan and Burnham's proposal, Toolbox theory, The two professors call for the United States and its allies to pursue a total war without war, aiming to contain and starve the German and Japanese empires by utilizing every available tool in America's toolbox to aggressively contest fascism. Whether it be through proxy conflicts in the battlefield of the Third World, or via economic, technological, and diplomatic means. Having been guided for over a year by the hands of Dulles brothers and his twin mantras of rollback and force America, the death of Joan Foster Dulles and the inauguration of Nixon's administration has created an opening for new theorists and policies in the State Department. An opening that has been eagerly filled. With the readership composing prime ministers, dignitaries, and even the President of the United States, only time will tell how this new toolbox theory will affect policy and strategy as the United States grapples with its enemies the world over. I mean, if I'm willing to do anything, man. We're America, baby. I know I keep repeating that just over and over and over again. Yes, give me more dissidents, please. We're now at 42. Currently, we'll equip with 5 brigades. Okay, so this is basically the cap for how many brigades they can basically have. Invasion impending. The Caribbean Legion is wrapping its training plans, which has seen moderate success. The landing in Puerto Plata is scheduled to begin in 2 months. After deliberation between the Department of Defense and the Joint Intelligence Agencies of Mexico and Cuba, the coordination with this, a generalized uprising, is planned to occur in cities across the country. It is assumed that Trujillo's regime and its foreign backers are aware of the plans for invasion and the uprising. Reports provided by local officers have noted that the Legion have improved their abilities, but that previous experience limited the benefits. Some weapons and communication supplies have been granted to local insurgent cells and regiments that will join the uprising, with the expectation that they shall distract Trujillo's military outside of key regions for the landing. Recent crackdowns for Trujillo's regime have targeted key cells and tactics seem more in line with the Iberians' anti-terrorist methods. Furthermore, Dominican stockpiles are reportedly acquiring modern air defense systems, just in that investments are being made to dissuade invasion. It is important to recognize the risk that this poses to the planned intervention. These likely won't preclude defeat, but involvement from foreign governments risks turning the conflict into a protracted struggle, which would jeopardize the success of the operation. Many of those risks, however, have been known for a long period. Agents have attempted to discover and capture foreign agents, but their focus remains on ensuring the landing succeed. It would be advisable to provide the Caribbean Legion with firm support from the United States Air and Navy to minimize risk. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. The invasion will begin in 60 days. Oh, and we got one of our technologies here. Now, again, I don't really know. There's no way to actually, I think, to tell which ones are more important, because some missions will eventually require specific ones. So, you know, let's just go for cigarette camera. I think that seems reasonable, something that might be important. Unless I'm missing something, but I don't think I am. Operational success. Well done, gentlemen. If I can click the button. I understand you're auto-saving, but if I can just click this, thank you. Is there anything we want to do right now with our agents? Because who's currently... Okay, currently is still contested. Military is still somewhat loyal. What about in Europe? Stabilize Iberia. Do I care about Iberia that much? Polish Underground. And then you are for Serbia. Well, I'd rather contact the Polish Underground than the Serbians. Like, no offense to Serbia, but there are more Polish people than are Serbian people. And they control, like, a larger area, right? Like, the general government... I mean, it's not great, but... We'll contact both. I mean, there's no reason, I think, not to, if we have the opportunity to do so. The two-coalition system. The National Progressive Pact is growing in influence and popularity across the nation, and is increasingly being seen as a viable alternative to the decades-long Republican-Democrat alliance of American politics. Though the MPP is on the rise, they could certainly be made to rise a little higher if, for example, some government resources were sent their way without anybody being the wiser. Alternatively, we could shore up support for the RDC instead, and hope that the MPP's rise is nothing more than a passing fad. Nevertheless, whoever we choose will have a bigger chance of winning the race for the Oval Office in 64. Yes, we will support the NPP. I kind of like how there is at least some nudging that you're allowed to do to kind of support your side. When is the election going to begin? Because I know American elections for some reason last 5 billion years. So it should be somewhat soon. The feminine mystique. The problem lay buried, unspoken for many years in the minds of the American woman. It was a strange stirring, a sense of dissatisfaction, a yearning that women suffered in the middle of the 20th century United States. Over and over, women heard the voice of tradition and Freudian sophistication, and they could desire no greater destiny than that of glory in their own femininity. The American housewife, freed by science and labor-saving appliances from the drudgery, the dangers of childbirth, and the illnesses of her grandmother. In 15 years after World War II, this mystique of feminine fulfillment became a cherished and self-perpetuating core of contemporary American culture. But on the April morning of 1959, I heard a mother of four, having a coffee with four other mothers in a suburban development 15 miles from New York, saying in a tone of quiet desperation, "The problem." And others knew, without words, that she was not talking about the problem with her husband, or her children, or her home. Later, after they had picked up their children at the nursery school and taken them home to nap, two of the women cried. Sheer relief just to know that they were not alone. I began to feel like I had no personality. I'm a server of food, and a putter and pants and bed maker. Somebody who could be called on when you need to want something. But who am I? Betty Friedan, the feminine mystique. I want something more than my husband and my children and my home. Well, now that feminism has been invented in the United States, I think this would be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not doing really thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.